All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of I Can Do This All Day. I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That is Mark, the Resident Jedi.
Hello there. So today we're taking a bit of a deviation led by my esteemed co-hosts. I would call it unhealthy obsession with John Wick. You've all seen him show up to the podcast in a suit on multiple occasions. Really jump in on those Keanu nuts. We found another movie that had this Wickness to it that I sent to Dan. And so today we take on the fever dream, I would say, that is Monkey Man.
Monkey Man's. The reasoning for reviewing this movie is it just happened to be on Peacock and it was free. I heard good things. It looked cool. And that's about it. So contrary to what Mark just said, I had no idea what this movie was about. He referred to it as the Indian John Wick, which I had no idea. I actually thought that this movie was going to be under the premise of guy finds a mask and helps his village of people and like a Robin Hood type story. And that's all that I thought that it was. I had no idea going into this. So
You're wrong on that one.
What did you think this movie was going to be about?
I have no idea. I just saw the violence level and knew it was you. This movie had part-time Avenger written all over it. This is the Dan guilty pleasure movie. The genre that you just watch.
I was almost thinking it was going to be similar to like Nacho Libre, to where it's like this guy just helps out his village and he fights at night. Like I thought it was like a mixed martial arts type thing where he just like fights a bunch of people and he just gets money. And yeah, completely out. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about it. Dev Patel, do you know anything about this guy? Does the name sound familiar?
He's been in a few things, hasn't he?
Yeah, Slumdog Millionaire, which I never saw, by the way. Makes me want to go see Slumdog Millionaire just because he's in it. He's obviously a lot younger. He's done some acting. He wanted Neil Blomkamp to direct this movie. And after talking to him about it, Neil Blomkamp just said, like, I don't think I should. I think you should just go ahead and do this. And so I'm wondering, it's like, was that like a polite conversation of I'm not interested? Or was it really, hey, you're super passionate about this and I think you can do it. I think you should make it.
We're heading towards, or maybe are in and we don't know it yet, this renaissance of filmmakers who are getting opportunity to tell their own stories, right? I feel like Jordan Poole is creating this ability for people to get seen by major studios. His success in owning his own product and putting his own ideas out there is bringing back some of that, I would say, confidence in first time and sometimes genre jumping talent, right? Because before you've seen Jordan Poole's movies,
if I mean, you saw him on a basketball court. You saw him on a basketball court, and also with the Lakers. So yeah.
No.
Yes, what? Jordan Poole, absolutely. You're talking about Jordan Peele.
Sorry,
the guy that produced
Jordan
this movie.
Peele.
Yeah, okay. You thought I was going to let you get away with it. No,
I honestly didn't even catch the Freudian there. Didn't even. I was waiting
for the perfect opportunity.
I think I was taking and just I don't know. Doesn't matter. Everybody knew who I was talking about.
The Lakers guard. The Lakers.
I mean, is he even still play for the Lakers?
No, I don't know where he plays. I don't know if he plays at all.
I don't know basketball anymore. Michael Jordan retired. The NBA is over. But Jordan Peele, prior to him getting into that, but before he put his movies out, you would not think that they would be as serious, as thought-provoking, as dark in some areas as they have been. So I think that it's a testament to people getting opportunities and them really being able to bring something great to the world. So honestly, this movie was not poorly done at all. I was a big fan of it. But I mean, Dev Patel's been in something. He was in that Green Knight movie, which I heard good things about, but have not taken in.
After seeing this movie, uh, I am open to watching more stuff with him in it, just because he's associated with it. But you have to have some type of competence, both in acting, directing, and writing, if you just get the green light. And even though Jordan Peele saw it and helped him get this over to Universal to be able to just to be distributed and everything, doesn't mean like, oh, it's just a favor. Like, yes, it's a big favor and he absolutely helped with it, but at the same time, Zeb Patel had a really strong vision, and there were just some small tweaks that they did after the fact, which we'll talk about a little bit later. I'm curious, when it comes to a plot, because you said that this is all up my alley. I'm curious to know what your version of the plot is.
Uh, Sometimes when your mom gets set on fire, you get angry. So you let people beat you up to make you angrier, and then you plot your revenge.
You really think that he got beat up on purpose just to, like, he was basically like a WWE jobber, but it wasn't to get more angry. It was to amass all of that money little by little,
He didn't
just
make
to have this
money. He
big
was just
big
getting his
plan.
ass kicked.
He made money, and that's what, like, so okay, so I think he how much of the story did you kind of really digest and understand as you were watching it?
A good amount. I would say I watched the whole movie. I was
Okay.
doing just that and nothing else. I'm like,
It's
I had to think
the
about that question because I was like, was I mean, I chewed on this one pretty hard. It wasn't, it went down easy though.
the
Though I
the
did watch
reason
this
why I
with the
ask.
subtitles.
Well, the reason, yeah, and so did I, because I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything just because of accents and everything. But I the only reason I asked is because there have been plenty of movies, myself included, where we don't get the entire thing. It's we just kind of watch it and we just kind of gloss over it. You did that for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. You kind of glossed over that entire that movie. That I think if you actually did watch it, you'd realize that you didn't like it as much as you think you did. But this one was kind of interesting because I could see why someone might not necessarily pay attention or maybe even pick up on everything. Number one, because of the difficulty in understanding, perhaps. But we both watched it on subtitles. But there's a lot going on in this movie. It's very fast paced. But there's a lot of juxtaposition that's put into this movie, and a lot of not necessarily even undertones, but a lot of thematic things revolving around socioeconomic status, social classes, religion, and kind of just some good old fashioned good guy bad guy stuff. And what the reason why I also asked that is because he had this huge plan. Dev Patel's character, dubbed and billed as Kid, had this plan since the day his mom got burnt. I'm assuming she was alive, maybe not, but she got set on fire. So you were absolutely correct in your in your plot synopsis. He kind of had some things not necessarily well planned out, but definitely planned out in the future for sure. Because if you remember from the movie, the reason why he gets all that money for Alpha and his people in that village is because he took all the money that he saved up and he had the kid bet it on the monkey. And that's the reasoning as to why. So that was years upon years of amassing all that stuff. So he kind of knew that he was going back there to do that stuff.
I didn't think that that was his fighting money. I thought that was the money he was getting from being a waiter to the seedy underground peoples when he
No,
was
like
serving
the
them cocaine or bleach powder, dependent
yes, yeah.
on
That
which
was
one.
I don't even know if he really got any money from the two times that he was there, but no, like he would get paid like,
I don't think it
little
was
by
just the
little.
two times he was there. I think that they only focused on a few occasions as he made friends with the guy with the coolest rickshaw bike you ever did see.
I like that character. I was very surprised that they stuck by each other as they did, but that was kind of a cool thing. Like
I
I would have liked to see a little bit more of that not even camaraderie because he is a dirtbag. I like the buddy buddy cop dynamic, you know?
I
I just love that.
I think that in a movie that's this dark, to keep it from getting too dark, you needed a few points of lightness or lightheartedness, and I definitely agree that that odd couple created at least a few points of light. Like that character was, in my opinion, funny. It was not a good person character, like terrible human being, but it is just something funny about a neoned out, turbo boosted. I don't even know what that's called. Like the mini bike or a little, but it's just great. I
It
was
seemed
like,
like a vehicle to
I
me. I
need
mean, I
one of
don't know.
those. This is great.
It it was pretty sweet, like how fast it went. Like
It was fast and it was furious. I
it
figured it'd
was
be right
pretty
up your
sweet.
alley. Again, tying in another love of yours, ground effects, Nas, and going real fast.
That whole kind of upbringing for his character all throughout starts off like really nice and kind of like this mother son moment and everything, and next scene is getting the shit kicked out of him in a cage. Do you believe him as being a badass kid, Dev Patel's character?
I don't think badass is the phrase I would use. He's not coming in there with any level of hubris or like swagger. He's coming in and, for lack of a better word, grabbing his anger with two hands and using that to drive himself forward. This is a journey of vengeance, not a journey of domination. He didn't go into this trying to survive it. And I don't know that at the end he survives or he doesn't survive, right? They don't go there with it per
Oh,
se.
I'm 100% dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't think that he died because you see the white light and he's with his
Oh
mom and
no,
everything?
that's what I'm saying. Like I figured that in the end he was just dead, right? Took that John Wick 4 trip, that I put everything on the line to settle this vendetta. I think that using the phrase badass is not there for me because there was no training montage, there was no sensei, there was no guy, like he wasn't like trained per se. He just was a street fighter, man. He's a grappler.
He definitely had a training montage. I mean, okay. Did you really watch the movie? Did you
What
really
I
watch it?
what training
Because
montage? He took a bunch of fights.
as he was recovering with Alpha, that whole montage of him training and getting better, and then all of a sudden, like, yep, it's time for me to go out there. Like, no, you could be honest with me.
Either way, to answer your question about badassery, I did not see this as a character with dominance. I saw this as a character with drive.
The themes of the plot and everything. Were you interested in that? Did you pick it up? Were you just like, meh, I'm just here for the action?
Once I turned the subtitles on, it was better. For me at least. Like it was just understanding the fast pace of the open and locking in on the time jump that was going on. But I was into it. It was way darker than I thought it was gonna be. The literally burning alive thing was super dark. I didn't expect it to go there. I didn't expect this movie to be what it was. There were so many parts of it that were just visceral. The underground fighting arena where they take you through it and you see all the people and the yelling and the grouping. And from a filmmaking perspective, I thought it was really good. It wasn't clean, it wasn't just glossed over, it wasn't like this techno fast-paced blinking lights where it had all of the dust and dirt and grime on it and you could feel it. It stimulated the senses.
So you bring up a really good point. So it's like the directing style from Dev Patel, I think, is where it really shines. So right off the bat, you have like this beautiful scenery, and then it cuts to the cage fight, right? The fight choreography, it was fast paced, but it was very chaotic. And I think with good reason. That's something where it's showing that this isn't going to be your cookie cutter type of movie. This isn't going to be a nice feel good story throughout. You're going to feel pretty down about stuff because the way that his lifestyle is, it's kind of in the shitter, like it's not a glorious life that he's living. And even when he gets to see that glorious life, I think they did a really great job with the lighting in the different scenes in the nightclubs and the little bars that he was going to and helping out because it showed like glamorous side, but going back to like that grittiness, that dirty aura of, oh yeah, this is like the underworld where it's not really that great. There's corrupt cops, there's gangsters, there's drugs, there's strippers. It's not a feel good family movie. Now, I took my family to go see Cocaine Bear. I don't think I would have taken my family to go see this because I think I know it would have been not that type of feel good fuzzy story. Overall, I mean, I just thought the directing style was really good. Were you picking up on anything in regards to the lighting?
I thought that the perspective and the way that the camera moved through the crowds and the people was it was different than what my assumptions were regarding this. Right? We've just watched all those John Wick movies recently, and I had thought this movie was going to align to that. In the trailer, he's in the suit, he's wearing the monkey mask. We think that there's going to be some things like that. They even make a funny John Wick reference in this movie when they offer him the gun, but he's like, it's actually just made in China. But I looked at who the cinematographer was, and that really Sharon Mir, who was actually the cinematographer for one of your favorite movies, Whiplash. And that connected with me, like the visceralness of this movie is very much in part from the director, but I feel like the cinematographer got to have a heavy hand in some of those shots, which is great. I think that we've had this conversation where I'll see a movie because of who shot it just as much as who directed it or who was in it. And I tend to like movies that the same cinematographer has done across the board. And again, it just had that visceral feeling where in my head, I'm like, thinking about just the smells and the feels and the heat and the sweat and the sound of I mean, the sound was good in this movie, but you definitely created an experience from a film perspective, which for something that is, I mean, this isn't a small time movie. It had a decent budget, right?
Like
Um,
10 million, 10
right.
million.
But I mean, it's not small time by any means, but it's not a you know, $100 million blockbuster. It
No.
made its money back in opening weekend, and its worldwide gross is only 35 million.
I'm
Well,
not super surprised by it because it's not screaming out like R-rated movies, with the exception of Deadpool and Wolverine, which has just crossed $1 billion. That's not the marketing for it, right? Like
yeah.
you're not there to make a ton of money off of those types of action movies or violent, visceral type of movies like this is. Interesting from the cinematographer perspective because I had no idea it was the same one from Whiplash, but that makes sense because it's the same type of frantic pace throughout both of those movies that it's shot, and it's shot very, very well, and the scenery that's done for it is really awesome. So yeah, good call out for the cinematographer on that one. What were your thoughts on the action itself?
I'm the wrong person to ask that question. It wasn't bad to me. I didn't see any issues with it. In reading a little backstory, I think that Dev got a few injuries in filming, which means that they were swinging hard. But I thought it was pretty solid. What did you think about it, oh guru and and just connoisseur of action films?
So I thought it fit pretty well with where the story was going. Now, normally I nitpick action just because, like, hey, if you're going to shoot action, it better be shot well and it better serve a purpose, not just wire foo or some type of like awful CGI thing. If
Wire
I were to
fu?
nitpick, you don't know what wire foo is?
No, I just love the term wire fu.
Oh, okay. So, for those who don't know, wire foo is basically like used in a lot of Hong Kong movies. Also was done in some of the Matrix films as well, but attached up to a rig and you just kind of fly through the air and do a lot of aerial maneuvers.
We'll
But
call it
anyways,
for the podcast. We're going to call it Crouching Tiger, Hidden Wire.
sure. But I could nitpick this if I were looking at it from shot by shot perspective. It's like, yeah, these are really fast cuts. They're not really showing a whole lot of choreography here and there. But I think it expands as you're watching the movie because there's a reason why it's quick cuts. Because this guy lives in just like madness. It's insane madness that he is just fighting, just really making like shit money, and he's saving up all this money just to try and do something, make some type of difference with what he's doing. And I would say that I liked it. I was totally in. I kind of understood as to where they were going with the action. And when you go into some of the later action scenes where he kind of makes his final assault on the compound, that's a pretty good technique that he has to do some type of martial arts and everything. And lo and behold, he actually did Taekwondo for a while and had believe he's gotten a few medals in competitions, which was pretty sweet. So the guy's got skills. The guy can act. The guy can also, do some pretty good choreography himself. So yeah, I was in it. I was all good. I thought, it had a good blend of all different types of action too. Car chase. Well, I don't know if you can call that a car, but yeah, there is a chase, uh, a foot chase, and then also just bedlam, 100% bedlam with the fighting, and a lot of ornate type of choreography that's used when a lot of the people come in. So yeah, can't complain. I thought it was good.
That Nissan Patrol was awesome.
What about like as you were watching it, something that I always think about and I always notice in a movie is like the music. What did you think about the music and how it was playing? And did you feel anything? Did it add to the mood by anything?
I didn't have an opinion. Didn't stick out to me as like a, wow, I thought it fit. Nothing was out of the ordinary. Not enough popular music for my opinion.
I thought that the music was just spot on. It's the type of music that I like in a movie, just like the dark, long holds of notes and everything. I was like, oh God, this is freaking sweet. We're in for some shit right now. And I read later on that after Jordan Peele got involved, they did redo some of the music score for that movie. I can only imagine that this is way better because I was totally into it and I really love the music that was in this and the score. So
So you're saying that
by
they
all
brought
means,
somebody in to do ominous, dark, ominous tones.
yeah, not Jason Segel's character from Forgetting Sarah
I
Marshall.
mean, maybe, maybe.
I've seen a few movies where they've done that, and it makes a whole lot of difference. One of the best action movies that I've ever watched, The Raid Redemption. Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park came in and redid the score and the music for that, and uh, world of difference in how that movie plays out. And so, yeah, I think that's really cool for what they did here. I don't know who did the music score on this. I'm not going to look it up, but kudos to them. Anything else that you got in terms of the action at all, whether it's the choreography, apparently you didn't know that there was a montage in the movie, so I can't ask you about that. But
I watched this movie. It was fast paced and there was a lot going on. I, I liked the fact that he had his shot and failed at like killing the general guy, and that he was able to get out of that and still made like a charge back in.
that's
That
nuts though,
was
right?
It
Like
was
that's
nuts. It was for sure nuts. I'm not gonna lie. There were two moments in this movie. They didn't Martha me. They just made me kind of laugh out loud. It was like a right. One of them was when he goes to try and jump out the window and just
oh God.
bounces back off of it. I'm
That was
like,
great.
eh,
That was
like
freaking great.
completely unexpected, and just again like shook you in the movie, like, whoa, we're gonna that, and the turbo button on the three-wheeler. I was like, this is completely unnecessary. but somebody in that editing room's like, no, you got to keep in the turbo button. You can't lose the turbo button. Is the best. Is like
I
the spider from Wild Wild West. You can't get away from it, but let's see it not very much at all.
Yeah, I liked both of those instances, and I'm glad you called out the glass because that's the most realistic thing that can happen. It
It's
totally is. No one can jump through a window like that, and I'm so glad that he attempted to, and he just bounced right off of it. I was like, yes, finally, someone did it. Maybe they've done it in movies past, but oh gosh, so good. But I think that was very expertly placed. You know, you're thinking like, oh, this guy's dead or something bad's gonna happen. Like, oh nope, he's safe. He's gonna jump out that window. He's good. And then no,
nope.
it's a nice comedic moment, but it's not. You don't dwell on it, right? It's just like, oh shit, like probably should have done that, and then back into the chase. So very few movies can do that very well. I think a lot of times, most movies in Hollywood, you would stand on that just a little bit longer and just kind of wait for a few more laughs and say something cheesy afterwards, like, oh, why what are these windows made of? You know, like something stupid afterwards to make it like, ah, there's an extra residual chuckle after that. But no, he's all into it. He's in the scene. He has an unfortunate thing happen, which happens to be funny, but it just keeps going after that. I love the pacing of this movie. I love the fact that it was just like one after another, and even the slow parts, like where
The
he's
whole front end was slow. And so I at some point while me and my wife were watching this, I like paused it to do something. I think like she went to the bathroom or something like that, right? So one of the things that happens in daily life when you're watching a movie. And I'm like, oh, that was only 30 minutes. The front felt way longer than it actually was,
really
to me
okay.
at least. The
I thought it
back
was
end,
like super
the
fast.
back end flew. The front end just felt it, and maybe it was just me, but it just because I was like straining to hear parts and trying to dial it in. Like normally my sound system is like Jeff's Kiss, and we're like, I can hear everything, and my wife tells me it's too loud. And then it's just like, what? It was just like a dialing it in. And I didn't have that problem later in the movie, and I barely read the subtitles, right? But in the beginning, when they were going through that, that's where you really needed it. But once he got out of the river that gave him pink eye, uh, which he really did during the filming of this movie, get an eye infection. And I'm like, I know exactly when he got that eye infection.
Yeah, that was a gross looking river, huh? Like that was
Oh, I'm like, that's not good for healing. Steve,
yeah.
how you getting out of there? And then we found
So
out.
you did watch the movie. I'm glad that
I
you picked
did
up on the
watch the
dirty
movie.
water.
I did watch the movie, and the band of blue masked folks that came through as his battle people in the end. I was like, the movie came together well.
I would say like that would be the only thing that was really close to Marthang me is just that the the Indian Avengers come out and I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like I get it, you know, like the village helped you and you became close with the people and everything, but everyone came out in their Sunday's best and I was just like, Jesus, like where's this going? But it was a cool little battle scene.
I
But
almost Martha you.
almost the only thing that was closer to Marthing me is when he died at the end. I thought it was a great ending and a fitting ending because where do you go once you've exacted your revenge? Like what happens after that? Usually it just keeps on going on. There's just something inside you that just eats you up. I know I've seen a lot of movies, but I wanted to see more of that character, so I didn't want him to die. I wanted to see him just continue to like just fester in that hole never be filled in his body where he's like he always has to seek revenge and he's like the the justice uh seeker for people, you know, but that's the only thing. Anything else kind of close to Martha and you at all?
I mean, to comment on your point, I liked that they didn't continue on the character or now make him like happy.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
then you have to live once you've come out of that, like, rage blindness. You've got to like settle up the fact that you've ended many lives. And
Oh
was
yeah.
it just, was it not? And then as he reflects back on his, more religious upbringing, like, he didn't have to struggle with that. He did what he needed to do. He achieved glorious purpose and he died the warrior's death. And we were good with that. I was good with that. The one thing in this movie, I love the glass scene, the turbo button, all of these things, right? That I called out that were little throw ins. The one little throw in, and it is minute. It in no way didn't it in no way obstructed me from enjoying the movie, but that made no sense to me was when he dyed the monkey mask white. Like, I get that maybe in the fairy tale, or at least in the paintings that were up in the room, conveniently showing his character's story at the end, that they used a lighter furred monkey, but to literally dye it to get there and just throw it on the ground, I was like, I mean, at least fight in the monkey mask for a minute, guy. Like, what's the point of the? And maybe I've just seen too many superhero movies where I want him to pull the cowl down before the final scene, but like, get me somewhere with this for a reason, unless it was just really gross from all the bleeding on the inside and it needed to be cleaned, so he didn't get more pink eye. Like, that's the only reason that I could be like, that's why he bleached it.
So I had a theory as to why that was. I thought it was like a little bit more of him becoming who he was supposed to be or who he was aspiring to be. So like not just this regular monkey mask, but also I the if I'm pronouncing it correctly, the monkey is like a white furred monkey. So like his mom was always saying like, "Hey, you're my Hanuman." Like that's I think that was his elevation or transition into who he was trying to be for his mom or who his mom thought him to be. So I
Okay.
thought that was just a little bit more on the nose for it. But
I was just,
you're right. I thought it was like a more because I'm contrary to what a lot of people think. I'm not like a zoologist or anything, so I don't know a lot of animals. But the when I thought he was just washing the mask, like getting all the blood out, but then I was like, oh yeah, it's turning white. So like I don't know, maybe it was always dirty and then he was just washing off the dirt. But I was just thinking like, oh
that makes it
cool,
even
it's
more visceral. I like your version better because
yeah.
it's
I mean
just more
maybe
grimy. But
maybe.
yeah, I don't know. It was, why throw it away in that regard, right? If he's gonna go Super Saiyan monkey, stay in the Super Saiyan mask
I
for a minute.
I get it, but Tony Stark doesn't always have the armor on his face all the time. So a lot of his best work is when he doesn't have his helmet on. So I don't know. I think we've talked about this movie. We've gone back and forth on some things, and we've questioned whether one or the other has watched it. But Mark, when it comes to Dev Patel's Monkey Man, can you do this all day?
I'm angry at my answer. My answer is no, but it's no for a reason. I will start by saying I really enjoyed this movie. I think it's worth a watch. For me to categorize in the all day I can do category, it's, am I revisiting? Is it a feel good watch? Do I want to come back to it? I've seen it. It was good. It's not a positive feel good from a movie perspective, right? There's some dark shit going on. So is it in that rewatch category for me? Maybe down the road if I recommend it and I want to watch it with somebody, but it's not like a, I don't crave to rewatch. I enjoyed it. I'm glad I watched it. It was a good choice of a film to take in, like one of the better movies that we've watched this year. So that's why I want to preface my no with, not no because it was bad, no because it's more of just a personal taste on what I consume ad nauseum and not.
Sure, totally understand that one.
Do you have a rambly answer to the question, Dan, of can you do Monkey Man all day?
I've gone back and forth on this because there have been some bona fide pieces of shit that I've said I can do all day. And
True.
it's more so
True.
um but I would say that from an action perspective, this hit this hit the spot. I was good with it. The story itself was complex. So I think that from a rewatchability point of view, like I could watch it again and there are other things that I would pick up that I didn't pick up before and I would appreciate a whole lot more. And probably a lot of things that I would probably understand a whole lot more, probably watching with subtitles on the entire way. Because I was like you, I kind of had to turn it on maybe about 30, 40 minutes in. And I know I missed a lot of stuff. And honestly, there's a lot of stuff from the culture that I probably just don't understand and I'm not around and exposed to a lot of times. So it's fascinating to me that as an outsider looking in, trying to watch this, where you're not very familiar with a lot of things, it kind of makes me feel like, oh, I wonder how people feel when they jump in and watch like a John Wick or when they watch a Marvel movie for that matter. Because they're not so ingrained in it, are they going to appreciate it as much as I would? And so there's a lot of people that really enjoy this movie and think it's like fantastic, like Jordan Peele, not Jordan Poole, the basketball player, but Jordan Peele, the actor and director. But I have a hard time saying that I can do it all day. So I'm gonna just go with my gut and say I cannot do this all day. But this was a fantastic freaking movie. So yeah, I can't. Actually, you know what? No, I can. I can do this all day because I'm gonna watch it again. And I feel like the rewatchability, the music was fantastic, the action is there. So yeah, Mark, to answer your question, do I have a rambly answer? Yeah, because I just flip-flopped. I can do this all day, and I think this might be something that I won't watch maybe I don't want to watch it very much like Logan or some of my other favorite movies that kind of have like a downer ending to it. I want to enjoy it at certain times. And so that way I can kind of recover and consume some other types of media and content that'll put me in a happier place. But fantastic movie. So yeah, I can do it all day.
Yeah. I I love that you were flip-flopping on that because that's how I felt in my head too, right? I don't want to shit on this movie at all. It was good. It was good, and I highly recommend watching it. It will probably be revisited in our final podcast of the year that we do every year, the best and the worst movies we've watched for the podcast. And it won an audience award at South by Southwest. I'd love to think that it'll get nominated for an Oscar, but it's an action movie, so that immediately removes it from
Yeah.
consideration.
Until they do Oscars for stuntmen, which they absolutely should do, then I don't know if this will get any awards per se, but hopefully, maybe one day. But until Dev Patel makes a Marvel appearance, I'm Dan, the part-time Avenger. That's Mark the Resident Jedi.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, send us your comments. Did you have a rambly answer that'll fit within the characters on X or our comments regarding this movie? Can you do it all day? Let us know. I can do this all day podcast on all the socials. Hit us up, follow, like, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We will see you next time, everyone.